Hello and welcome to today's episode of Activating Magic. I'm here with Sanda Kruger. Hi, Sanda.
Hello, Darla. I am so excited and blessed to be here today.
Me too. Me too. So I want to share that we connected at an event and you spoke about your retreats to Transylvania. And I really want to ask you about that today. You mentioned the energy of the land and how it called to you. And as you know, I have a lot of people who are retreat leaders who are in my sphere and maybe we'll relate to that story. And I can't wait to ask you about how that went. So, but I want to just let people know a little bit about you. And then I'm going to ask you to share your story that, like, what brought you here and what you're excited to share today. So, Sanda is an international retreat host, a life and health coach trainer. So, she trains other coaches as well, and an entrepreneur who empowers individuals to unlock their full potential and manifest abundant lives. With an educational background in philosophy and business, she began focusing on personal growth and wellness early on. In 2007, she established her first coaching practice, offering fitness and nutrition programs and workshops. Over time, her intuitive guidance, meditation practices, and understanding of universal laws made her emphasize the importance of connecting to the higher self for manifestation. This path took her to develop her intuition and become a channel and energy healing facilitator for the sacred feminine through the ascended masters. Her approach blends traditional life coaching with holistic practices, focusing on understanding the subconscious, conscious, and superconscious mind. With over 45,000 students and clients from 170 countries, Sanda is recognized as a trusted expert in her field. She founded Satori Romania Retreats, providing transformational experiences in the Transylvanian mountains for self-discovery and harmony. So I connected with you because I've actually been to the mountains that you take people to and had a magical experience there. You've been coaching forever, you've been training coaches. I have a coach training program. So, like, I just love that you created that. Tell us a little bit about, what brought you into the coaching space and then where you are now in your journey.
Oh, thank you so much. My bio, sometimes I hear it and it feels like, wow, like it's not me. So,
I'm sure people can relate to that.
yes. Um, so the coaching journey for me just started very intuitively, very natural. I had no clear path and clear intention to become a coach. And back then, it wasn't even a thing. But I was drawn. So I'm originally from Romania. And back in the day when I was still a student at University of Bucharest studying philosophy, in the summers I would go to Turkey and I'll go to different places in Europe as a tour guide because I had my tour guide certification and I would just use that to make some extra money that will in the summer that will keep me enough for the rest of the year. And so I it all started actually with dance for me. Being a tour guide in Turkey, in the Aegean Sea coast area, Kuşadası, Izmir, in that area, I was taking tourists to Turkish nights. And it was maybe once a week or so. And I got exposed very profoundly and repeatedly to belly dance. And so I really loved it. It just called me. I had no idea how it was done. I knew no technique. However, when I get a chance by myself in the mirror, I would practice that. And now, fast forwarding years later, I got to the United States and I already had a baby. So this is maybe like 15 years later. I just wanted to go and work out after I had a baby. My daughter was around 3, 4, 5 years old, something like that. And she was going to school and she had all these extracurricular activities. And meanwhile, I would just go and I started taking Zumba. And that's how it all started for me, because the Zumba instructor who became my mentor and my friend explained to me that in Zumba, you can have one song from with different rhythms. And so she was Colombian, she's Colombian, and she was trying to learn belly dance. And I was like, well, I can teach you some things. And so that's how it all started. When I started teaching her some moves for her Zumba classes, and then I kind of fell in love. I was never a big fitness person, but I fell in love with Zumba primarily. And the ladies in the class were very taken by the belly dance moves, and they've noticed that they feel different in their bodies. So then this idea popped into my head. What if I create something that's specially made for that? So that's how it started with belly. It was called Belly Dance Fitness. And then it took me a couple of years. I created Belly Core Fitness, which is an original fitness program. And it takes these moves from belly dance, and then it focuses on the woman's body and works the core muscles and focusing on flexibility and functional fitness, focusing on that technique to help people who are in need of that for recovery and different things. And then I thought, well, what if I do this in the water? I actually love the water. So it all started with that. It started with fitness. Okay. And then my fitness clients were naturally drawn into nutrition because they were asking me all the time, like, well, what do you eat? And I'm like, well, I'm eating Romanian usually, or like European things. So then that's how it started. I was intermittent fasting without even knowing that I'm intermittent fasting. And so from fitness to nutrition, then within maybe 5-6 years, my ladies, my clients started asking, well, I would like to start my own business because look, I got all these results and I have people asking for my help. And so it evolved into the business aspect of coaching, fitness and health coaching especially. And then obviously you cannot make any changes that are lasting in your body unless you really start focusing on how the mind works and, the emotions. And it's just like naturally progressed in that direction. So that's it. I took my certifications and here I am.
Well, so much of what I've developed has come from people asking, well, I just want to do what you do. Tell me how you did this, and then figuring out how to teach it. So, I have 2 books and they're both basically things that I developed on the fly on a retreat because someone asked me to, and then it worked. So I love that progression. And I guess that, I'm curious about when you first started and people were really resonating with the moves and that they needed that in their body. And, I take a transformational filter to everything. And I think so much of what we need in general is being in our bodies and being connected to our bodies. Did you know at that time that the practice would be transformational, or was it really about fitness and movement and fun?
Well, fitness, I think it's transformational. I had an idea that it is meant to be transformational. It was meant to help. Specifically, the ladies in my class were asking to transform their bodies, especially in the core area. So from a physical perspective, I was very aware that it was transformational. And then I started becoming more and more aware that it was also important for them, for their lifestyle. They're actually creating their schedule around the class. Like if they'll have a doctor appointment or any of that. And then by asking for feedback, it turned out that they were feeling better. Their relationships with their husbands or significant others were improved because they were going through these classes and they were feeling better within their own bodies. And so, I became more and more aware that it was a more transformational journey than what I initially thought. I just thought fitness first and body wise, but then it switched to the mental level, and then it turned out, they feel really good. And so, I was aware, just not to the extent of which I am aware today.
I love that idea that they're scheduling around this. There's something, I know I call it a rite of passage when coaches are starting to have sales conversations and they get certain objections. And, it's like, yeah, being someone who's at cause in your life and you can create your schedule around the things that you want is transformational. Yeah, I love it. Tell me about when the retreats dropped in and how that was for you.
Ah, that's the part of my newest development. The retreat idea came in 2 years ago. It was 2022. And I personally participated at a few retreats as an attendant before, but I never really thought of hosting my own retreats.
Mm.
And so I woke up one morning right after I turned 43. I'm a May baby. So it was towards the end of May. I woke up one morning with this very strong impulse of going back to Romania, where I'm from. So I've been living in Florida for almost 20 years now, and I miss Romania and I miss Europe, and I'll go visit. But never before have I felt this magnetic drive, like I'm supposed to go there now. It was such an intuitive guidance, like it actually surprised me because I couldn't explain it at all. So then, of course, I tell my husband and everybody, like, I need to go, to the point where that particular day I bought the flight ticket, and within a week
Wow.
I was in Romania, not really knowing what I'm doing there. For the first time, I rented the car there and by myself, and I drove around the Romanian mountains. The idea was, you know what, I'm just going to meet these people. Back in 2020, I adopted from Romania a couple of Romanian Carpathian Shepherd dogs. Another
Mm.
thing that it was kind of like a puzzle that just somehow it connected. So
Okay.
I said, I'm just gonna go and meet these people where I got the dogs from. And that was Transylvania. So I got in the car, I drove there, I met these amazing people. And at the end of the 2 weeks, how long I planned to be there, I came back a little frustrated because I still had the feeling that I'm supposed to be there. There's something that it didn't
Mm.
click yet. But then through meditation, coming back to Florida, through meditation, within another week or so, I started getting the clarity. And the clarity was that all the discussions that I had with new friends and my existing friends throughout the 2 week trip connected into this aha thing for me, where it was like, I'm supposed to help women, especially Romanian women.
Mm.
And it was like, well, how do I help them? And it turned out that I was talking to friends who, like, a particular one that made a huge impact on my mind was this girl that I've known for 20 something years, and she's amazing. And she has her house, she has her car, she has her business, she has an amazing job apart from the business. Like, she has everything going on for her. Romanian, yes, in Romania.
Mhm.
And she still felt that, she doesn't fit in the society. She still felt that because she divorced, she was somehow, set aside by the society, and she needed to like express herself and find herself. And then it clicked to me. I'm like, I'm supposed to help women like her, just find
Mm.
that power. And so this is how it started. I'm like, well, how can I do
Wow.
this? And the idea came, well, how about through retreats, which made total sense because my drive towards the mountains and the idea of the retreats came together. And I'm like, yes, that's what I'm
Mm.
supposed to do. But where? And then I went again in 2022. This was in June when I left the first time. And then in September, I went again with a list of 19 places of where am I going to host these retreats. And the places the list I made online. So I knew that I'm supposed to feel the place. And I was like, I'm going to know when it's the right place, which I did. So that's how I found the place.
Mm. There's so much I want to unpack there. The first thing, I was thinking this earlier, Sanda, when you were talking about, oh, and then I just started this, and then I just started that. And it's pretty incredible what you've accomplished. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think it is that makes you different, that has you fulfill on these things and keep taking action and build such solid businesses? And then I heard you say, oh, I got the knowing that I need to go to Romania. And then I just left the next week. I booked my ticket that day. And so I feel there's something in that quality that's probably what makes you successful. But could you talk about that?
Well, yes, of course. I will say that what you call the quality, 99% of the people around me call impulsiveness. And like not really putting things in perspective. And I'm sure there are many people who can relate to this.
Absolutely.
I think that what the quality really is, and I agree with you, I think it is a quality, and I'm embracing it more and more. And looking back throughout my life, when I have followed that intuitive, I call it intuitive guidance, I'm 100% sure, this is my own belief, that this is what it is. It's our guidance from our higher self, our angels, however we want to call it. It's our true self. And when we follow that heart guidance, which is the intuition, which connects us, now I know, with our soul part of us, that's when everything just starts aligning. My own guidance told me to set aside this part of me that was really wanting to not be judged and wanting to fit in and be liked and be approved by the ones around me. Even to this day, I mean, I have people in my family that are totally mind blown by my decisions, and they don't understand them. And I think that the quality is to follow your intuition. But then again, we need to know when it's intuition and when it's not. And that's something that in the last 2 years, especially because of what happened, I had to figure out for myself. Like, when is this intuition, and how does it feel when it's intuition, and how does it feel when it's not, when it's maybe subconscious programming, and what is the emotion connected to that? So yeah, there's a lot to talk about the subject, for sure.
Yes, I'm going to put a pin in that and come back to it. I feel, I went on a journey last year to Scandinavia. That's my ancestry. And I just started getting this intuitive pull to go there and connect with, I didn't know what really. So I mapped out from my DNA testing, like the regions my family came from, and I just went to the places and felt them. And it was epic. And it was also kind of like, okay, did I miss something? Like, my soul felt very connected and at peace. And then I thought, I probably missed something. I was kind of jet lagged. And so I loved hearing that you said you came back and in meditation, you could really piece together what had happened. And what I did is I decided, and it's like, is this my brain rationalizing the experience, or is this true? Right.
Yeah.
I decided the land worked on me. And this is really why I want to talk to you, because I really believe the land works on us. And I don't have I don't have a lot of experience with it, other than hosting retreats all over in different places and knowing the texture of them is different depending on where we are. So I decided the land worked on me, and then it's just continued to work. A friend of mine bought me a drum from this man in Europe, in the UK. I had a session with him, and he knows the shaman that I did a session with in Norway. And like, we're connecting all these dots, and it's like, it's still working. And I think, the tendency could really easily be like, oh, I didn't get this magical experience, but maybe you did. So I love that you brought it back to meditation. And if people have followed a nudge like you did, and then they don't think that they got something from it, what would you say about that?
If they would follow a nudge and they didn't get something from it, well, I would say that I've been there. I followed the nudge, but then my mind started kind of helping me deviate from the path.
Mm.
So what happened, and I'm going exactly to what I will say to that. I will say, do not give up. The nudge is the real thing. It is
Mm.
your real guidance. And so even if the outside factors or even your own mind is going to put barriers and obstacles in your path, the nudge is the real path, is the real deal. And when you follow the nudge,
Mhm.
like this is what happened in my case, everything kind of opened up and the money for this project started coming and the aligned people started presenting themselves in my life. But then in my case, with all this money that just came, especially for this project, I tried, my mind told me to rush it. Why don't
Mm.
you invest this money into social media campaigns, like really aggressive campaigns, and grow your presence in Romania? Because I haven't done anything in Romania in 20 years, right? So I'm like, my mind is telling me these things.
Mhm.
And all this has covered my actual path, which is
Mm.
soul driven. And
Mm.
so easy, within another year, I could feel, and now I'm back on my track, but I could feel where like I'm pulled in side to side and I'm not anymore really following my intuitive guidance. And
Mm.
so I had, of course, the option, am I going to give up? Or am I going to meditate again? I'm meditating every day, but I'm going to meditate with this intention of clarity. Why did this happen in 2022?
Mm.
What was I supposed to do with that I didn't do? And then the clarity started coming. So channeling our
Mm.
answers from within ourselves, it's what really, I think it's the best method. So yes, what I would say is do not give up. If you really feel that that's your intuitive guidance, it's okay. Don't judge yourself. I did.
Mhm.
Don't judge yourselves for just deviating and losing track
Yes.
from time to time, because in this human experience, having that contrast, it's an experience in itself, and we're supposed to love it and
Mhm.
enjoy it and
Mhm.
learn from it, and then go back on your path.
I
Yeah.
love that. It makes me think of, I tell the story, how I started this version of my business was I hosted an event and I lost a bunch of money and I thought it was intuitively guided. But when I went back and unpacked it, the very first part was intuition and everything else my brain filled in. Just what you said, like, oh, obviously this would be what I should do with this information.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing you say is go back and ask. Like if I could turn back time, I mean, I wouldn't because I'm here, but I would ask source a lot more questions. Is
Yes.
this what this means? Does this mean that? And
Yes.
I didn't know then that I could. It felt like
Me neither.
intuition was random, right? Like it's gonna come or not. Tell us about Transylvania, because when you spoke about the energy there and what you wanted to create, I felt it in the core of my body. I felt your love for the land. I felt almost a transmission of the stable, steady, protective field of the mountains.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's accurate in your experience, but
It is. It is. It's definitely how I feel it too. It's a lot of love. So I'm not from Transylvania. I'm from Bucharest, which is in the south of Romania. It's a big city,
mm,
and it's my first love. Bucharest, it's like ah, I just love its streets, and I love we call it the Little Paris. In Europe, it's known as the
mm,
Little Paris, Bucharest. It has a very similar architecture. So the only connection I had with Transylvania was from a few field trips, a few camp trips that I had when
mm,
I was in school in Bucharest. And my parents would send me in the summers to different parts of the country.
mm,
I never thought I'm a mountain person. I never thought I'm a forest person. I will always love going to the Black Sea. Romania has Black
mm,
Sea coast. And hence, I'm in Florida. So I've always been connected to the water. So to me, the fact that I am all of the sudden being called towards the mountains, it was just mind-blowing. It has nothing to do with me and what I've identified with ever before. And it started, though, around 2019, 2020. Now I'm putting the dots together. I'm connecting the dots when all of the sudden, I want to get a dog. And I kept looking at the dog, and my husband and I were thinking of a golden retriever. And so by looking on the phone for a dog, it pops into my attention this Romanian Carpathian breed. And I'm like, I'm Romanian. I don't know of that breed. Like, what are you talking about? So I'm researching it, and it turns out there is not anywhere in the United States. It was not registered with AKC, none of that. So then I'm so drawn, again, intuitively, I'm so drawn towards this breed that I'm starting to look for breeders in Romania. So this is COVID time. Nobody could travel, but my first dog, my soulmate dog, came in September 2020 from Romania with no rabies necessary. It was like, what is happening? So it came from Transylvania. This is how things start connecting. It came from the mountains. And I am mind blown because the person that I got him from, it's a forest ranger. I have nothing to do with forest. I'm a city girl. So then in 2022, in the first trip, I went to visit him and his family, this forest ranger, and he feels the impulse to show me around. So we get into this four-wheeler, and we have this amazing experience up on the mountains. And I'm like, I love this. Like the whole experience, the whole energy of the mountains, the greenery. It was like, what is happening? I felt so much love and so much joy and so much presence. I enjoyed every breeze. I enjoyed the wild berries. I enjoyed things that I would have never paid attention to probably before. And so that's how it started. It was like, this is how the energy came to me. I just felt it. I just got there. I met the right person, which again, it was no coincidence. I believe in synchronicities 100% now. And he showed me around, and I was like, I need to be here. I need to. So then when I put the dots together, it was like, it has to be here. And then I started getting these visions in meditation. At some point, I'm supposed to build a center, a meditation and retreat center there. And it was so vivid because I actually got to draw how this center is going to look like. I have it drawing. I'm not a big artist at all. So it's interesting. Everything that's happening, it's so interesting.
The universe keeps putting you out of your comfort zone. So in 2023, you hosted a group, right?
2, yes.
What was it like?
It was fantastic. It all happened so fast. Like, I thought it's not going to happen. I thought until almost the last minute. So in 2023, in January, February, I just put the word out there that I'm hosting retreats. So my guidance was to host the first retreats in June in Transylvania, but for Romanian people. I was supposed to do it in Romanian. And I was like, I don't know anybody in Romania. I don't know anything. I don't know, like, I've been gone 20 years, but let's do it. So I created the landing page, and I created the offers, and I did a lot of market research of what's out there, what are the prices, total different than the US market. And so within a month and a half before the retreat happened in like mid-June, I met the right person she was a therapist, and we got together, and within a couple of weeks, we filled exactly like half and half. We filled these retreat spots. And it
Mm.
was like, okay, so this is happening. Because to me, it was all a surprise. It was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not sure I should do this, right? My mind is just doubting everything at this point. But yeah, it happened. And it was so amazing to me that I decided within that week of that first retreat, I'm going to do another one in September in English. And within those 2 months,
Mm.
I came back in July and in the US. And within 2 months, I filled up the retreat spots for September, which was like, again, mind blowing because I didn't have
Mm.
anything prepared as marketing materials and none of that. So yeah, it was an amazing experience. It was the most natural thing to me. And it led me to knowing now 100% with no more doubts that this is my path, that this is what
Mm.
I'm supposed to do. Part of what I'm supposed to do is to organize these retreats.
Yeah.
But then these new ideas come up like, yes, Transylvania, it's amazing. But then closer to Bucharest, 3 hours away from Bucharest, which is the main airport, there is this vortex that
Mm.
we are aware of. And now I'm called to also do some retreats there. And another very interesting thing that I did in September was, apart from the retreat, I actually offered, because now I had Americans coming for the first time into Romania, into the
Yeah.
mountains. And everybody heard of Transylvania, everybody heard of Dracula. So I was guided to offer this 5-day tour at the end of the retreat separately. Whoever wants
Mhm.
both, they can get a good deal on that. And so we did all these castle tours and like experiencing with foods. And it just took me back to me being a tour guide back when I was a teenager. And you
It all
like,
stacks up.
yes, I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? So it's amazing.
Oh, I feel that. That's so beautiful. I can feel your joy at showing people new things.
Yes. And the mountains are a big part of it. The energy vortex, I'm not doing anything. You just have to be there, just
Mhm.
be there.
I'm curious. This is a question for the retreat leaders or wannabe retreat leaders listening. So, you were already a coach, you were already a trainer. You're teaching other people how to create coaching businesses. So, obviously a ton of expertise in transformation. What was the most surprising thing about hosting a group on a retreat like that?
The most surprising thing was that I didn't find it difficult at all once I didn't let my mind overanalyze things. So once I just let things, I opened up myself and I let things flow. People are
Mm.
easy to work with on the one-on-one. Also, another thing that just came to me right now to share is that in order for me to be able to do these retreats, I had to go through my own transformation first.
Mm.
I had to make peace with my past. I had to heal from certain
Mm.
traumas that I've had and I was not aware of
Mm.
from childhood. And so, even though I was a coach for a long time, and I didn't realize this, I was hiding behind, especially after 2020, behind the online world. Even though I started doing coaching online in 2017, 2018, mostly. But I realized that it was more like a distance that I created to protect my own energy because I was
Mm.
scared with no logical reason that when I'm going to do things more one-on-one, especially being responsible for a group of people for 1 week, it was a
Yeah.
lot that my mind
Yeah.
was like, how are you going to do that? And it was always analyzing and always, I
Mhm.
want to do things perfectly. I want everybody to have a great time. But then I also realized that really transformational retreats can very well include some tears. So having a good
Yeah.
time is not always smiles and, it's just evolution and progression. So I had
Yeah.
to make peace with that and just lead with the heart, not lead with the mind.
That's
That's
so
when
good.
everything just flowed.
That's so good. Yeah. So, like, your soul is having a good time, even if things might go wrong. Your soul is like, yes, bring it.
Yes. Yes.
I love that you bring that forward. We talk about that, like be careful how you name your program, because whatever the name is, that's the transformation you're about to go through. And I started by I would teach. I mean, I've always been transformational in my work, but teaching people how to host profitable retreats, there's so many elements to it. But the real thing is, can you ask someone to come and be in your presence? And can you trust yourself to hold that space? And most people have stuff to clean up to feel safe within themselves to hold a safe space for people. Yeah. And was it in particular tender going back to your homeland? Like, was that a piece of it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think that my first initial trip after COVID, so in 2022, I think it triggers something, just my presence there, like you were talking about the land healing, the land
Mm,
calling, the land. I totally agree with that. I think that just being there and following that intuitive guidance, it triggered my need of deeply healing because I've been through therapy throughout my life in the United States, and I thought I was good. And then all of a sudden, all these very unknown, very deeply hidden subconscious programs came
yes.
out, and they needed healing in myself. Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure people will feel both heartened by that and a little nervous. Because when you put that retreat on the books, the stuff starts to move.
Yes. And what's interesting also, it didn't move only for me. Being there, actually, it moved not only for Romanians in June, but last year in September, it
Mm,
actually moved things. Because I really believe that being in a vortex and being connected to the earth, no matter where you are on this planet, it's going
mm,
to just stir something. Because my
yeah.
clients who came with me, and some of them are my good friends, and they were very supportive, and I'm very grateful for that. Being my first retreat in English
Mhm.
over there, they came and it stirred up in them
Mm,
some cleansing and some just self-awareness that was not there before. So yeah, I think
mm.
retreats in general are meant to do that. If they're transformational retreats, I mean, it's kind of a part of
Yeah,
it, I think.
absolutely. We were talking a little bit before we started recording about channeling and, new gifts coming online.
Oh
And I
yeah.
feel like I want to frame it up. You said the people watching you would call your gift impulsiveness, the thing that's, kind of had you follow and trust and take these steps. And I think a lot of times following source can look crazy from the outside, like you're doing what?
Yes.
And, I remember when someone would wrinkle their nose at me and I would think, oh, yeah, I probably shouldn't do that. They'd be like, I don't get it. And I would say, oh, yeah, you're right. And so it takes a real strength to continue to move toward what's alive. And so you're creating a new program and you've got some new stuff coming online. And I think people would love to hear about how you're trusting that and, the times when doubt creeps in.
Yes. And doubt always creeps in. So for whomever is listening, make peace with that. Be prepared for that. Since 2022, I wrote 3 new courses, and now I'm at the fourth. The first one was about abundance and manifestation. All of them life coaching certification courses. The
Mhm.
next one was about the laws of the universe. The last one that I just published this March was about intuitive development. And the one that I'm working now on, it's called Soul Consciousness Life Coaching Certification. They all have this evolutionary path that I personally have been through since 2022 to now. The channeling has been happening clearly in me, at least throughout my life. I have no doubt now that I know what it is. channeling is, in my opinion, connection with our higher self, connection with the inner guidance, the heart guidance. The Heart Math Institute, it's talking more and more now about, the coherence between mind and heart. And that's what I call intuitive guidance. When we are in alignment of the mind, body, and spirit, that's when we have no doubts. And even if the mind sometimes will creep in and just come and give you some doubts, they are, because the soul is now leading this beautiful, I call it car. I have this beautiful car that it's my life. And so far, for a very long time, my subconscious programming was leading that, this car. And now my soul is leading this car, and I'm allowing that to happen. And so with that being said, everything is coming forward. We're all channeling. I'm not special. I am just a normal human being who allows a little more, opens up a little more. But I really believe that the calling, and hence my courses in this direction, the calling is for all of us to start listening to our higher self and to our inner angel guidance. We all have access to it, no matter the background, no matter the religious upbringing, none of that matters. We are souls. We are non-physical beings living this experience in the physical body with this powerful tool that is the mind. So I believe that channeling, it's something that's going to become more and more and more natural, being seen as a natural part of us, being seen as an easy thing. I think that the more we subdue the mind, the more we channel. It's that simple. At first sight, I know it's not simple. And healing and forgiveness are the key to start opening up.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I love that, when you're speaking about the alignment. So one of the things I teach, I have 6 magic types. And one of them we call expression magic, which is basically channeling. And whenever I talk about it, I do this. So, it wasn't ever my primary, but I had a lot of clients for whom it was. And more recently, it's been tapping me on the shoulder. And I believe if we design our business around our magic, it's so much more fun and light and fun and playful. Part of, I think, a key magic for retreat leaders is what I call compassion magic. So I had built a lot of my business on compassion recognition, right? Being able to see the patterns, the trends, how people are showing up, and hold it in non-judgment and love on them and be fierce with them. And then more recently, expression magic, I am kind of on Bambi legs thinking, what does that mean? What does that mean for how I do things? Right? It's part of why I started the podcast, is just to express. I think so many people who are transformational, they know it, right? They're in business, they've been coaching or whatever, might have a new magic come online and feel nervous about it or uncertain to trust it. What would you say to someone who's in that place? Or to me?
Yes. Well, thank you for asking me that. I would say what I said to myself, that when the doubts are coming, or when the wobbly legs are happening, which are happening very often, especially now when things are evolving so fast, and we are presented with new pieces of magic, and we are told, well, now you could do this as well, and now this will be something that it's needed, and of course the mind comes in, and I truly believe that the mind controls the body. And so when I feel my physical resistance, and I do feel that a lot now, it's not as strong as it used to be. So when this is happening, I say to myself, let's meditate. Let's meditate and let's get aligned. And so the newest thing that I have been working on with myself is to start being very aware of my switching the brain waves from beta to alpha and then to theta, where I'm literally in meditation, putting myself into that trance state where I'm channeling from. So by doing that, I just tell myself, let's meditate now. Let's meditate. Let's take a nap, whatever it is. Let's take a break from this mind chatter and from the wobbly legs. And in the moment in which I do that, I find my inner power. The soul is never scared. It's always enthusiastic. It's always like full of power. I think empowerment, it's innate in us when we are in alignment. So yeah, that's what I would say. I would say separate yourself from that environment, from that thought even that makes you feel wobbly and makes you feel unsure or overwhelmed, and even frustrated. So just create a little distance, even physically, if that's the case, and realign with yourself. And the best way that I know how to do that is through meditation and also through connection with nature. Grounding has been something that I'm very called towards, especially in the last couple of years. So just taking my shoes off and going in my backyard or my front yard and just spending there some minutes with my feet on the ground, or also going by the beach because I'm in Florida. So the water, the natural elements, connecting with them has been empowering for me. And he brought me clarity.
That's great advice. I love it. So Sanda, I know, we'll put some resources below this in the show notes. Talk about the channeling session. So you have a channeling session that people can access through this interview.
Yes. My big calling, I call it big because it was more unexpected than anything else that I've been through. My calling is to guide others. I'm not going to say I help others, even though I guess it can be said like that, but I facilitate a higher level of energy to where people who need healing or people who just want to get in touch with their angels and their guides, their spiritual guides, their higher self, I'm called to facilitate that connection at this time. And so that's why I'm offering this channeling. I'm also called to become a healer, but I don't see healing as something that I do from myself to others. It's nothing that my ego, even though my ego would like to say, yes, I'm a healer. I'm not assuming any of that. I'm just becoming a channel of allowing a vessel, like we're called, to allow that high level energy to flow through me towards the ones who are open to receive it and who are needing it. So this is what the channeling sessions are for. If you want to connect or if you want to heal, I can facilitate.
I'm so excited that you're offering that. And I'm just really happy that I got to meet you and connect with you in this way. If I'm taking anything, it really is follow the impulse, follow the nudge, and be persistent about it.
Yeah.
That's what I hear.
Believe in it.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanda, so much for being with us. Any parting words?
Just as I said, believe, have faith in your guidance, not your mind, not your body, but your soul, because that's what you are.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks,
everyone. And we'll see you in the next episode.